This could be the last opportunity to get into MTV before a big surge to the upside. In this video, we're going to be diving into the technical analysis on Multivac to see exactly what could happen next here with MTV. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done out of the way, let's dive right away into this chart to see exactly what is going on here with a Multivac. So we're going to be taking a look at this daily in a bit of detail. So obviously we can take a look at the progress that's been made, but to do this we can of course jump out to that weekly and we can see the good kind of progress that's actually been going on here. Now with this we obviously do have some expectations. Now there are several different scenarios that are playing out. We obviously have the push for 9.2 cent or 7.2 cent depending on which area that you want to look at, either the all-time high, all-time low. That shows you 9.2 cent. The recent progress with this pullback here showing 7.2 cent. Now, obviously, those are incredibly low kind of price expectations for Multivac, considering we have now a target of 4 billion for staking. We've surpassed the 3 billion in staking. The circulating supply for Multivac is incredibly low. And as a result of that, there's already a huge squeeze on the supply, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of different kind of exchange listings, be that Coinbase or even things like Binance, are going to be the significant push that you need to start seeing Multivac to really push to the upside, maybe up towards that kind of 30 to even a $1 threshold, right? Because it won't take a lot of money to move into this market to really push the markets or the value of MTV to those kind of heights. So it's good to kind of see that kind of structure, and to go up to $1, it's basically only 5,000%, which really is not a lot of money coming into Multivac, because ultimately the market capitalization, for those people who misunderstand it, it is not the amount of money flowing into a project. It is only representing the current price, i.e. the circulating supply multiplied by the last sold price of MTV.
This video has been sponsored by Crypto.com. Now don't skip ahead just yet. With Crypto.com you can buy and sell cryptocurrency at their true cost. Earn a nice juicy passive income on your crypto holdings, but you can also sign up for their debit card. Now this kitchen that we're in right now has been paid for using the Crypto.com debit card. I earn 3% cashback, and as a result of that I have that cashback paid in CRO tokens. Now the CRO token is an appreciating asset, which basically means 3% today could be 10, 20 or even 30% in the future. This is a great way to treat your portfolio on your everyday expenses. Now there is a link in the description down below, guys, where you can use our link to basically sign up to Crypto.com, apply for that debit card, and you'll earn $25 to get you going. So why not check out Crypto.com today? Links in the description below, and let's get back to the video.
Okay, with over 3 billion actually already delegated out of circulation, the actual circulating supply is actually less than 1 billion right now. This actually means it wouldn't take a lot of money to actually move this needle significantly to the upside, right? $1 billion in theory would be enough to push this well above the $1 threshold. So ultimately, we're looking at some pretty reasonable numbers coming in. Obviously, you do need to see a bit of marketing and a little bit of, some new exchanges taking MTV on board. With all this being said and done, couple that along with, transactional volume from an NFT platform, say, I think you're going to be on the cusp of some really interesting price discovery. So I don't think the technicals here are really giving us an accurate picture, right? 7.2 cent, 9.2 cent, they're not accurate in where we're thinking MTV is likely to go. With that being said, though, we obviously want to use these technicals to our advantage to see exactly what is going to happen and where we potentially could be going next. And then speculate, according to everything else, right? If we do start to see significant marketing and maybe even, some exchange listings, then actually, where is that going to take us? Potentially much, much higher, 30, maybe even, 30 cents, maybe even $1, right? So good kind of progress to be had there. So we can obviously see that good progress has been happening. Most recently, we have been analyzing this Elliott Waves triangle, right? And again, this is an interesting one because this is playing out quite nicely. We have A, B, C, D, and now we're looking for E, and E would basically represent our last opportunity before we move to that upside, right? That big yellow arrow. Okay, so we're going to really talk about this in a bit of detail to see exactly what is going on here and whether or not this is our last opportunity to potentially come into the buy area, which is this yellow box area at the bottom here, and before really moving on nicely to the upside. So what we're looking for here is to basically, are we actually going to come back down as low as we had previously in terms of just below the 786, which does come in at 1.5 cent, or are we actually actually going to pull back and maybe be a little bit higher. So I've actually put this up here firmly at 1.58. I don't think we're necessarily going to come down to 1.5 exactly, but we are looking to see a pullback. We're looking for an ABC correction between a high of D, which is where we are right now, or were yesterday, and then we're looking to pull back down into those lower areas, right? So I know that I did see comments asking whether or not, because of this recent surge to the upside, it invalidated everything that's going on here. No, that actually confirmed everything that's going on here, right? So basically we have C up here, we had we had B up here, C down the bottom, D is now up the top. So we had that ABC wave kind of come in and get completed, and now we're looking to complete E, and E is a downward move, an ABC correction to the downside. Okay, so once that comes in, that's where MTV really has these 5 impulsive waves moving to the upside. So wherever E actually lands at the end, we'll be then looking for a good surge to the upside, which would basically be taking us into these kind of price discovery, new all-time highs on those kind of jobs, right? So right now we're looking for these 5 impulse waves, but we have to first of all come down before we can actually start to lift off. So what we're looking for is to basically see this ABC correction. Now, what we're going to do is, before we actually dive into that in a bit more detail, we're going to jump over to the advice.io dashboard, and let's take a look and see exactly what's going on here with the underlying data. Now, if you're not familiar with advice.io, link in the description down below. It's completely free to sign up. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. This artificial intelligence has been right more times than I can count. So when we take a look at MTV here, we are B1 rating overall. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that's pretty neutral, right? A1's the best, C3 is the worst. So actually this is looking pretty good, right? So as we come down, we can see that basically the fear and greed index is a D. So again, sorry, C3 is the worst. No, D is the worst. But basically a D rating. So extreme fear in the market right now for MTV, right? So basically people are more likely to sell right now than to buy. Now this is really interesting because this, coupled with our Sharpe ratio, and our Sharpe ratio is our risk reward ratio, this is actually indicating to us that the rewards outweigh the risks, and therefore actually getting exposure to MTV is actually a good idea, right? Now I'm not offering financial advice, Chris is not offering financial advice, and advice.io are not offering financial advice, but knowing what these actual things represent helps us understand and make more informed decisions, right? So knowing that there's extreme fear in the market for MTV, and knowing that the Sharpe ratio is in your favor and that you want exposure, it's quite obvious that you want to be buying the fear. At least that's how I read the data. So as we come down, knowing that we got a good Sharpe ratio and a lot of fear in the market for MTV, what else do we have going on? We've got an AMI-HAD ratio and A2 rating. Again, this represents your liquidity, so there's no problems with liquidity with MTV. We have moving averages, again A2, they've been performing pretty well. Nothing wrong with those either. When we come down to the profitability in A1 rating, it's performed incredibly well over the last few months. So again, nothing to really kind of complain with there. The only thing that's out of kilter is that fear and greed index, an unreasonable amount of fear for MTV, right? So we know that there's fear that could be up for sale, and we should be taking advantage of that. So when we come back to the charts and we start talking about this potential pullback, where we look from high of D going down to our E range, then actually there's going to be fear that's going to be helping push that price down. And we want that price to push down, and we want to complete this pattern. What we don't want to do is invalidate this pattern, because we want to complete this because of what it means going further forward, where we get those 5 impulse waves to the upside. So, knowing that we're looking for E, knowing that we've got a reasonable amount of fear in the space and a Sharpe ratio that's in our favor, that's the kind of fear that we want to be buying up on this potentially last opportunity before we actually go and move north rapidly. So when we come down to our hourly report, or hourly chart, I should say, here you can obviously see the moves in a little bit more detail. And what we're really looking for is an ABC correction wave. We can already see that we are pulling back from our high of D, and we're coming back down. We've probably potentially found a bit of a low point. Now we're looking for a bounce to our B high, okay, and then a C low. Now I think this could come down all the way towards our buy zone area down here, which we already had scoped out at 1.6 cent previously, right? So again, this is the kind of thing that we're looking for. You can see this is an area that we've been in briefly as we touched on 1.5 cent, again on that 786 area, right? 1.5 cent. What we're looking for now is to basically continue this growth to the upside. E should be higher than C, and as you can see, C is higher than A. So we're looking to bring it higher. Whether or not we actually come down to 1.5 1.5 or whether or not we actually leave this up here on 1.6 is going to be the interesting part. We won't necessarily know how low that's going to go, but there is good support on this journey to the downside. Okay, so whether or not we've actually found the bottom of A, we don't know yet, but there'll be a very clear bounce as we continue the growth to the upside. The bounce will probably come in to around this area here, which would put us around that 2 cent area, lots of resistance around there, and then complete with the C pushing down either to 1.6, touching on our buy zone, or potentially down into 1.5. Okay, so 1.5 cent would be a fantastic opportunity ahead of where we go next. So when we actually jump back up into our daily and we actually can analyze what that looks like, if I just bring this a little bit clearer for you guys, we can see that, an ABC here would allow us to move nicely to the upside overall, where again we do target out some of these really interesting zones of maybe 4.5 cent and maybe even higher, because once this thing gets launched, guys, it's very, very rapid on these 5 impulsive waves to the upside. And a good example of that is what you can see here with these 5 impulsive waves on the daily, right? We have this low area here for wave 1, pulled down for wave 2, pushed up for wave 3, pulled back for wave 4, and then we completed with wave 5. Once we had that complete for wave 5, we had this sideways trade or triangular wedge appear, which is Elliott waves, A, B, C, D, E, and then we look to push for another 5 impulsive waves to the upside, okay? And if we, with Multivac, if it were to continue this kind of pattern, we can see this thing rapidly move into the upside, specifically as that FOMO kicks in, and with a bit of marketing and, like I said before, some new exchange listings, we could see this thing absolutely launch rapidly to the upside overall. Ultimately, I'm very bullish on the Multivac. I think it's got some fantastic technology, a fantastic team. We often talk about this, and I think all it really requires now is to get a little bit more going with its ecosystem. The NFT platform is going to be really interesting, see what goes on with that, and of course, as this ecosystem builds out, I think there's some really cool things that I think are going to unfold, and some new adoption that's going to occur here for Multivac and MTV. As a whole, I think there's going to be some fantastic opportunities to dollar cost average good positions, and of course, in the bear market, accumulate massively on MTV ahead of the next cycle. Overall, everything's looking very good. We've got some good targets, and again, we can speculate a little bit further as well. But for me, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.